Hello, everyone. It's really lovely to see so many of you still here at the end of ATS. Thank you all very much for coming and for sticking around. So, last panel of the day, very much not least though, audio is, as always, a hot topic. We've seen it develop over the last couple of years, and I am delighted to have my panelists here, who I will ask to introduce themselves. Agata.
Hello, Agata Hirche from AdTonos, VP of Product. We'll be talking to you today about audio and how it actually continues to grow similar to DisplayPath.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Powers. I'm a digital lead at the Seven Stars, and I cover the planning for a whole host of digital channels, including digital audio.
And I'm Tom Coare from OMD UK. I'm head of audio. I look after all audio trading and quite a lot of bespoke strategy stuff as well.
Thank you all very much for joining me. So, a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, we were seeing panels at conferences talking about how audio was the next big thing, was up and coming. And then it has become audio over the pandemic. There's been a huge boom. We've seen a lot going on in advertising. And I just want to get a gauge of each of your experiences of that growth, what you've seen happen in your area of the industry. Tom, you've described yourself as an audio dinosaur.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm from a radio background, of course, so digital audio has sort of happened around radio over the last few years, but without detracting from it, which has been a real positive for the likes of me, trading both across them. But you're right. I mean, the pandemic changed an enormous amount of behaviour in the way that people were consuming audio, created a lot of positive headlines for the digital audio market in particular. The growth of podcasts, it seems to have, pump those up into a sort of mass market thing now. I think everyone's grandma has a podcast nowadays, don't they? But marketers and brands realise that this is a space that they should be playing in, and so it's created a huge amount of interest in the channel. Very positive.
Excellent. How does that ring with your experience, Charlotte? How have you seen it grow over the last couple of years?
Yeah, certainly. I think alongside CTV, the pandemic has really shown the growth of audio listening. And from our perspective, most clients now have digital audio on their plans. So it's, if you present a plan that doesn't have it, they quite often ask why, which is quite a nice challenge to have from a client. So it's kind of a staple of most of our media plans, and I only see it as an area that's going to continue to grow as we move forward.
Excellent. Agata, you come from a slightly different side. Rather than adapting to the new audio landscape, you are part of it and became part of it. How have you seen the growth in the last couple of years?
Already in the last 3 months when I joined the company, it really accelerated in terms of programmatic buying, particularly in the US market. So definitely unfortunately as it is, pandemic helped the audio to grow. Also, the podcasting became a very interesting channel for a lot of our clients, a lot of advertisers, where they're trying to monetize the trend of the consumer of doing their own podcast, but also monetizing that consumer new behavior trend of engaging more with the audio content.
Excellent. I think we will definitely be coming back to the measurement and metrics side for you to speak to. Initially, Charlotte, I'm keen to hear your experiences on the barriers to entry that you found for brands and how audio is still perceived, how those perceptions are changing by brands and where they place their spend.
We've actually found it quite an easy channel to send to our clients. I think because everyone listens to podcasts and everyone engages with digital audio, clients can see how it fits into a media plan. Predominantly, we position it as a brand space, so driving brand awareness, driving brand perception. It's quite an easy channel to understand how it works and the functionality of the channel and how users engage with it. I think barrier-wise, they're relatively low. I think some of the challenges that we've seen have been around creative and really creating content that hooks a user and hooks a listener. You can't just repurpose a TV ad as you would for YouTube, which we know some clients do. So how can we help our clients, explore that creativity within the channel, whether it's through a 30-second audio ad or something a bit more integrated like a sponsorship and a live read?
Tom, how have you found that move? Well, I mean, from a sort of investment point of view rather than the sort of strategic side of things, we've spent a lot of time integrating digital audio onto plans as a kind of incremental reach builder. There's definitely an audience that is unique to digital audio you can't find on commercial radio, and so over the years we've been moving 10%, 15%, 20% of budgets over into it to create incremental reach. But obviously that tops out at a certain point. You know, a big barrier for entry in digital audio has been the increased cost relative to broadcast radio and other audio sources. So, you know, in order to sort of bridge that gap, you can't deliver the same plan if you're blending to beyond a certain extent. So the omnichannel approach has sort of really helped us because that's unlocked sort of new pots of money for digital audio. You know, audio has always been an important part of sort of that approach and omnichannel, and the ability to sort of put your headphones in and take audio with you and have that sort of very personal and very intimate sort of environment where you can talk to consumers is hugely important for that approach. So that has helped, in a way, brands see, I think, digital audio as something separate to their radio plans and a separate channel on its own. It's interesting you say there's a lot more sort of strategic interest in it because we really see that coming through on the investment side of things. But increasingly that budget seems to come from sort of siloed digital pots or, you know, special project pots, which is, as I say, helping to get people doing a better job in the space and a more thorough job. So
I think brands are taking it a bit more seriously.
Exactly, yeah.
I think one of the big barriers has always been the measurement and metrics side. Charlotte, you said it's generally for you a brand awareness play. It's, you know, a host-read ad. It's getting the name out there rather than something that has a direct action, direct response to it. Are you seeing that change? I know Agata has some thoughts. I'm just wondering from your point of view first.
I think it's kind of a double-edged sword because for us, the objective is you want people to listen to your full ad because, you know, you've paid money for this creative, you've spent a lot of time planning and getting the targeting right. So actually you don't want people to click out because you want them to listen to the ad the whole way through. But at the same time, and I'm sure Agata will come onto it, there are still limitations around kind of cross-device conversion tracking. You know, if we've listened to an ad on a mobile and then we go and Google it on our desktop, how do we know that can be attributed to the audio ad itself? So I think there's still a long way to go in terms of that measurement piece and how we can start tracking that a lot more effectively. But it's exciting because it's actually an area of growth that we can start to look into in a bit more detail.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have, the answers, Agata. I think you have a lot to say on the measurement side.
Yes, I do have all the answers.
So yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on how audio measurement works and how you can advance that metrics play.
I will, but I just want to go back a little bit to what you said about the creative, because I have a feeling that it does constrain a lot of advertisers and marketers from actually activating digital audio. Whereas with today's voice technologies, you're able to activate very specific sentiment, emotional, keywords-driven voice ads already on the platform within a minute or within a day. So there's a lot of control and transparency that's been given to the advertiser through the technology at the moment. So I would highly encourage to speak with your marketers about that, because this is the same technology that is enabling right now the podcasters and actually inserting the ads within the podcast stream that we're working on. So so luckily that's already available, and because of all the advancements, we're also looking into wealth of measurements that is following the voice tech progress. So first of all, definitely there's a lot of first-party data. We're able to track the engagement through the pixels on the broadcasters' websites, through the mobile. We're able to target through over 300 different behavioral segments, audiences at the moment. That gives a lot of insights into behavior, into the audiences, into the performance as well. So there's that actual progression towards the display, programmatic display type of level of insight. So there's definitely a lot of comfort that's going to be given to the advertiser when they finally activate the ears of the consumer, not only the eyes. So that's definitely, and what's coming, what is happening right now really is the smart speaker advertisers, where we're going from listening to actually having a conversation with the client. This is absolutely something new. This is something we've done last year, I believe, with the Audi. It was a great case study where we were looking for the signups for the test drives and the nearest location for the auto sales. So and in that particular segment of smart speakers and interactive advertising, we can go even as nitty-gritty retail into the keywords that trigger particular action or particular conversion on the website. So there's definitely a lot more data to be shared and analyzed through for our platform or other platforms probably as well, for the marketers at the moment.
I think it brings up quite a lot of questions around audiences and the people who are actually engaging with audio. And you mentioned a number of different platforms there in terms of home speakers and gaming and mobile gaming in particular. I think it's easy to just think of podcasting when it comes to audio, but in fact, the interactivity of the home speaker and how that's kind of changing how we interact with audio it's really bringing a much wider audience. When you're planning, Charlotte, how do you take into account those audiences, and are you seeing more demand for perhaps not the normal demographics?
Yeah, so we work really closely with our strategy teams to identify which audiences are using audio and podcasts, because obviously we need to have our execution backed up by a robust strategy. I think generally speaking, and this is very general, you can kind of find an audience anywhere within the digital audio space to align with your brief and our response. So whether it's kind of a more younger demographic, there's certainly an audience that we can align with that audience, but also, whether you're interested in sport or music, there's a whole wealth of podcast inventory and a digital audio inventory that we can target to be able to reach those people, whether that's contextually or demographically or using first and third party data.
Tom, have you found something similar in terms of what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, radio has traditionally been traded on broadcast audiences, so all incredibly broad and they're very basic. And digital audio's added a really nice sort of layer of extra targeting to that, and a number of sort of interesting and different sources. Not only interest verticals, but as you say, things like keyword targeting and the ability to target people by device and use dynamic creative to make reference to certain data points that might be around location and things like that, to personalize advertising. Yeah, there's a whole wealth of new things that we can do in the space that we never could before.
In terms of the personalization and the targeting side of things, how does that work with brand safety? Is audio a safe medium? Is that somewhere that brands can feel comfortable placing their ads?
I think audio is generally considered to be a pretty safe environment for compared to other digital environments, but there are certainly issues around brand safety increasingly with podcasts. There's some really sort of good and innovative products out there to help us manage that. Spotify have their what's the sensitive topics, I think it's called, their product that effectively transcribes podcasts and looks out for certain search terms. You can then exclude those from their buys. So there's lots of good stuff out there. But yeah, I think audio is a pretty safe space. You tend to be able to get less across in audio than you can in visuals, or something that might be less shocking or offensive to people. It's more difficult to do that using just sound.
Charlotte, do you think that's a consideration for brands you work with as well?
Yeah, certainly. And I actually think the responsibility sits with the agencies and the publishers to ensure that they're upholding those brand safety measures. I work on a number of clients who require quite stringent restrictions for a number of reasons, but one of those being that we cannot target children or under 18s in any way. And that's not just, there's a number of sectors that have to stick to that rule. And we can go as far as planners to make sure that we have the right theory on our plan, but we rely really heavily on those publishers to ensure they put that theory into practice. We use all the right levels of verification and brand safety tools that we can, but the actual execution is as watertight and brand safe as it can be from the publisher side as well.
Agata, how do you feel about the brand safety and in the digital space? How are you working with that?
I think it's extremely safe and transparent in terms of working with the programmatic platforms at the moment. For a lot of broadcasters and streaming and podcasters as well, it's their bread and butter, it's their revenue stream. They're very, very careful in terms of engaging with brands and being selective about the brands and reviewing the creative itself. Probably one of the safest channels.
Excellent. Where for you guys are the next big opportunities in audio? We've talked a little bit about the platforms, the inventory that's available. Where do you see as the next big thing for audio being? Tom?
You've sort of mentioned it already, it's voice activation, really. There's millions of these devices in people's homes, and we're not really using them to the full extent, either as a point of data or as a point of response, and where people can actually, let's say, have a conversation with the advertiser there and then in their home, sort of thing. And you've got two big gatekeepers to those devices who have all that data, and haven't fully entered the sort of advertising audio product market kind of thing. They don't have anything that is a particularly strong offering for advertisers. So as those develop, I think that's going to be the big growth.
Do you think that's one of the barriers to entry at the moment, is the whether there needs to be more cross-industry communication regarding audio, maybe measurement we've talked about, maybe a standardization? Do you think that's something that's going to come, something that needs to come in the next year?
Well, walled gardens aren't particularly helpful, and any kind of standardization is. As I say, at the moment, a lot of the sort of big investments we're making in that space are coming for very specific projects that we can sort of manage that, if you see what I mean. But yes, as things grow, we're going to need more of that standardization and being able to sort of cross-pollinate data across different platforms, certainly.
Agata, for you, where do the next opportunities lie for audio?
I think it's definitely the direction of contactless economy and the voice commerce. The voice payments reached already $6 billion US dollars this year, and is expected to double over the next 8 years. So definitely the conversation with the consumer needs to start. Is it for the purchase purpose, or is it for the more information purpose? That's something that we definitely is going to start seeing. Also, very much focus on the lifestyle, because a lot of people are using AI, personal AI, as a means of lifestyle, seeking information, as just being hands-free and engaging with the brands on the daily activities this way. So I definitely see more opportunity for the brands to extend that conversation with the consumer through smart speaker and the payment system online.
We talked before the panel a little bit about the interactivity and brands who are encouraging people to actually directly purchase through audio ads and smart speakers. Do you think that kind of new level of connectivity and interactivity is the future, it's the next step?
Oh, absolutely. So if we look at the Google stats, it's about 50% of searches are conducted through voice at the moment. So we're definitely moving into the typeless economy of seeker, of the consumer looking for information, engaging with the brands. And we know that Gen Z already is basically the people who can't type. They're talkers, they're voice mailers. This is a completely different generation. So that conversation needs to start happening, but also in terms of games, I think we talked about the games as well before that. Gaming audiences, they are. This is no longer the teenage boys with the popcorns and chips listening to music at the same time. This is a mid-age female with the children, a housemaker at this point. This is also eldering audiences who use the games for their mental health benefits. So there's a big shift in terms of how we look at audio becoming the part of the other user experiences that we pay a lot more attention to with the increase in popularity of voice technologies. We're using the popular people, the speakers' voices to entertain through commercials, for audiobooks and other means of communications. There's a lot happening in that space that's going to encourage consumer to further communication and being another contact point and touch point with the brand, definitely.
Yeah, I think the growth in across demographics is amazing. The stuff that you spoke about regarding it being people in their 40s on mobile games rather than teenagers on Fortnite, how I imagine my nephew as the mobile gaming audience. Charlotte, where do you see the big opportunities lying?
Yeah, I think to echo what's already been covered is around smart speakers. I think what Tom said around the big players playing their cards a bit close to their chest at the moment is really interesting from an agency perspective, because we don't feel like we've had that exposure to some really great smart speaker case studies. So, I think as time goes on, we will start to see those come in, and it's definitely an area of growth for the digital audio space, and one that can an activation that can sit outside of just a campaign and kind of run as its own piece of media and its own piece of technology within a household, outside of just needing to run alongside a TV commercial or a print ad and a print campaign.
Amazing. I think we are almost out of time. I just want to throw one last question to you. 12 months down the line, what is the audio panel at ATS L23 going to be speaking about?
I think it'll be how we're being delivered in podcast form into people's homes rather than on a stage in the Central Hall, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it will be the advancement of those in-home devices and what we can do with them in a sort of transactional and sort of response basis, I think. We'll be talking about, hopefully, the advancements that have been made there.
Excellent. Charlotte?
Yeah, similar response actually. I think kind of interesting ideas around using AR and VR alongside digital audio listening to bring that experience into your home and to bring it into your life, as opposed to just an audio experience, having it as a kind of 360 multi-sense experience.
Very interesting. And Agata, what are we talking about next year?
More media convergence, I think. We're going to see different forms of audio unavailable just right now. Probably a lot more creative type of executions in audio, more open and playful use of speakers and creative. We're definitely going to be talking about contextual voice targeting, something that is already happening with the text, but we're also going to start tagging the contextual texts, just like we're tagging right now the video content for context and for keywords and targeting. Another source of very good data for the marketers and agencies.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you very much for your time. That was a great panel. And yeah, thank you for coming to ATS London.